Imagine opening a door sealed for over 3,000 years and being the first to enter a forgotten tomb. What would you expect to find? For Howard Carter, the British archaeologist who in 1922 faced this moment in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, the answer was simple: wonderful things. Before his eyes were precious and mysterious objects that belonged to a young pharaoh. But who was this boy, whose name had been shrouded in dust and secrets for centuries? He was Tutankhamun, the boy king who, despite being forgotten by history, managed to defy time. Tutankhamun was born in an Egypt marked by radical changes and religious tensions. His father, Pharaoh Akhenaten, had shocked the kingdom by transforming Egypt's traditional religion. He abandoned the worship of Amun, the chief god, in favor of Aton, the sun disk, creating a form of enforced monotheism. The old deities and powerful priests were sidelined, and Egypt entered an era of instability. Amid this chaos, Tutankhamun was born, already shouldering immense responsibility from the start. He was destined to repair his father's mistakes and restore peace to his kingdom. At the age of 9, he was crowned pharaoh. But how could such a young boy command one of the greatest empires in history? He was not alone. Behind the throne, experienced advisors like Vizier A and General Horemheb made the most important decisions. They knew that for Egypt to survive, Akhenaten's changes needed to be reversed. And so, the young Tutankhamun, with the help of his advisors, restored the worship of Amun, bringing back the old religion and regaining the support of the priests. As the kingdom stabilized, Tutankhamun tried to grow up in a world where every decision could change the fate of an entire civilization. But as powerful as he was still a boy trapped in a fragile body. His health was delicate, and he seemed destined for an early end. Modern examinations reveal that Tutankhamun suffered from a series of physical problems, possibly resulting from the practice of incestuous marriages within royalty. He had a deformed leg and frequently needed to use a cane. Additionally, it is believed that he suffered from malaria and other debilitating diseases. How could someone so young and fragile bear the weight of a kingdom on his shoulders? The answer may lie in his brief but significant attempt to restore his people's glory. Despite his limitations, Tutankhamun oversaw major restoration projects of temples and monuments destroyed by his father. He was the public face of the return to a traditional Egypt, but privately his health deteriorated. At 19, the young pharaoh died, leaving behind more questions than answers. His sudden death sparked mysteries that echo to this day. Was Tutankhamun murdered, or was he the victim of an incurable disease? Some scholars suggest he might have died due to a fall or accident, possibly while riding in a chariot, a theory supported by injuries found on his body. Others believe that a combination of malaria and his genetic conditions might have been fatal. His reign, though short, was marked by uncertainties, and his early death only intensified the enigmas surrounding his life. After his death, Tutankhamun was quickly forgotten. His name was not mentioned in texts or monuments. He was buried in a small tomb, inadequate for a pharaoh, leading many to believe that his death was unexpected, and there was no time to construct a grand tomb like those of other kings. The world left him behind until more than 3,000 years later, chance changed everything. The true resurrection of Tutankhamun came not with his mummification, but with the discovery of his nearly intact tomb by Carter. Inside a small chamber were the greatest treasures ever found in Egypt: chariots, golden thrones, jewelry, royal garments, and most famously, his solid gold funeral mask. But beyond the shine of gold, Tutankhamun's tomb offered an unprecedented glimpse into the life of a pharaoh. Unlike the looted tombs of other kings, Tutankhamun's had remained untouched, preserving a time capsule of Egyptian civilization. The most intriguing aspect, however, was not what the tomb revealed, but what it hid. Within that golden mask and at the center of all that splendor was the fragile body of a young man who had no time to live. A king who, unlike so many others, never had the chance to rule for decades or build immortal monuments. And yet, there he was, immortalized by discovery. The mystery surrounding his death gave rise to various conspiracy theories, but one of the most fascinating is the famous Pharaoh's curse. It is said that an inscription found in the tomb warned of a curse that would befall anyone who disturbed Tutankhamun's rest. Shortly after the discovery, Lord Carnarvon, the expedition's sponsor, died of an infection after being bitten by a mosquito. Other mysterious deaths followed, creating a myth that endures to this day. Was the curse real, or was it all just a coincidence? The most surprising thing is that despite his young death and a reign without major military or architectural achievements, Tutankhamun became one of the most well-known pharaohs of all time. His story, his tomb, and the treasures he left behind captivate the modern world. What would have become of Tutankhamun if he had lived longer? Would he have transformed Egypt in other ways? These questions will continue to intrigue archaeologists, historians, and curious minds for many years. Walking through the bustling streets of modern cities like Cairo or London, it is hard to imagine that somewhere in the desert, a young king, forgotten by his own people, still captures the imagination of millions. And this is perhaps Tutankhamun's greatest achievement. He proved that even in the silence of death, stories can live forever.